Hello and welcome to On the Bench, the fortnightly podcast for scale modelers by scale modelers. Available on iTunes, Stitcher, and all good podcast apps. While you're there, don't forget to mark us as your favourite so that you never miss a show. In this episode of On the Bench, we're going to be looking at the air war in Vietnam. And to help us with that, we're going to be joined by our special guest, Adam Dormer, who'll be talking about his Trumpeter 132nd scale Thunderchief, the F-105D, and also the 148 scale Tamiya Douglas A-1J Skyraider that he's built. And also we're going to be reviewing 2018 and what a huge year it has been for the hobby. Lots of exciting kits were announced and indeed even released. And of course we've got our usual what's new in the modelling world. Fine Scale Modeller is proud to be the official supporter of On the Bench. Fine Scale Modeller is one of the world's most recognised and leading modelling magazines and is currently celebrating 35 years. Fine Scale Modeller magazine can be found in all good newsagents or wherever you purchase your magazines. Alternatively, you can go directly to their website www.finescale.com and subscribe to get the magazine home delivered, as well as that, access to the digital edition. And a huge shout out to Alexander Scubis for his ongoing support through Patreon. If you would also like to help us, you can do so by going to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount from $1 upwards. Your contributions will help cover our ongoing operating costs, and they are greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get right on with the show. And g'day and welcome everybody to On the Bench, and in the studio I've got Ian. G'day Ian.
G'day Dave. G'day listeners.
And of course Julian, who only just made it in tonight.
Yeah, I had some car trouble. Hello everyone.
Flat battery.
Yeah, it was. I'm not sure what caused it, but hopefully it was what I think it is, which may be the inside light. Oh well.
Maybe it's just because it's an MX-5.
Maybe it's time to get a decent car.
Maybe. Are you offering to buy me one, eh?
No. You're a big boy now.
Yes, I am, and I'll buy a new car when I damn well feel like it.
So guys, what's been happening? Ian, let's start with you first.
I had a good weekend on the Shikaku.
I saw that.
Got
You've been busy boy.
All the gun emplacements are now pretty much glued in place, and all the photo etch bracings have been put in, and the observation sections.
And even went and bought some more photo etch.
Oh yeah, I know. It's nearly hit the $900 mark.
Oh,
now. So by the time I've got a base and a cover, I've pretty much gone over the four figures.
Jeez. It's going to be spectacular model for that price.
Yeah, well, I had to get some new binoculars.
Yep.
Because for GB ones, the sprue attachments is right at the top where the binoculars are.
Yep.
And so when you take them off the sprues, you got this big flat section, and then to try and remove that flat section and get the two curved sections for the binocular lenses.
Yep.
You just snap them off all the time because it's like a hair thickness with the bottom binoculars to the top of the pedestal.
So what was the aftermarket solution?
I think they're either Voyager or
Veteran. I think
Veteran,
Veteran.
one of the two, yeah.
They make great
really
stuff.
nice resin ones. I bought
out
a
of
box
Korea,
of
I think. They are.
Yeah, not too sure where they're from.
He makes brilliant stuff. I got heaps of aftermarket stuff.
I've used a lot of his stuff too.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, it's I'm hoping this weekend to hook in again.
Oh, very good.
Get as much work done before the heat sets in, and that puts stop to everything.
Julian.
Yeah, so I've been working on my Pete and my P38.
Yes.
And they're coming along. The P38 just keeps eating up money. Not quite to the same degree, obviously, to a much, much smaller degree. But the fact that I just have to keep I had problems with the main insignia, the star and bars for P38, so I couldn't use those decals. I could use the nose art and other small markings, but the main markings they're all covered in like furry, papery stuff where the paper's stuck to it.
What do you use a stencil and just paint it on?
Well, that's it. I bought some stencils.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I bought stencils.
Good move.
I bought the replacement resin spinners and props. Those are ready for the second stage of painting because I've got to paint the yellow onto them.
No, the Ultracast ones?
Ultracast, no.
Because I'm pretty sure
Quick
I've got
Boost.
It might be Quick Boost. Yeah, Quick Boost. So they come with like a little jig.
Yep.
Well,
They're
so
the ones.
Right angle of the
Yeah,
blades
so
and
they're for the
forth.
Hasegawa kit, and they don't quite fit. They're a little bit too small. So I went out and bought some plastic card, and I glued that to the back of each of the spinners to widen them out
Yep.
enough. Yep. So that's what I've been doing, and it's getting there.
Cool.
I've also bought some clear plastic so that I can do those side windows properly.
Some gator grip, or what it's called, PVA glue.
I might be able to just sort of, because I don't necessarily have to make the windows as the window size. I can make them longer than that and tuck them down into the windowsill kind of thing, right?
No, you confused me.
Okay, so P38 have side windows, much like they go up and down like a car window, right?
Yep.
And because only a small fraction of it gets seen when they're down,
Right.
I can have most of it tucked down inside the plane.
Right, now I think I've got you.
So
Yep.
I can actually make it longer than the window.
Yep.
So that they touch all the way down the bottom, and I can just put some super glue at the very, very bottom and just drop it down in there. All good.
And hopefully it doesn't fog.
Yeah, hopefully. And if it fogs,
Yeah, no sorts of trouble.
it's a lot of effort gone to something that actually won't get seen very much.
Exactly.
Just use PVA glue. It won't fog.
Oh, I hate PVA glue. It's not real
no,
glue.
it is.
No, it's more like blue tack or something. It's like gummy sort of stuff. Doesn't go hard.
It does go hard, and it clears. It hardens in the clear thing, and you obviously you've never used
Gator grip.
Well, gator grip's one of them, yeah. But PVA works exactly the same. But if you've obviously never done a lot of PE work, because if you have, you'd know that.
Maybe you haven't
PVA
done specifically your kind of PE work, right? Which is I acknowledge that there's a huge difference between that and, you know, the ship's the kind of thing where everything's so delicate you can't afford to touch.
But for canopies, I could not see why you would not want to use PVA glue or gator grip for doing canopies, because you're guaranteed to never get a fog on your canopy.
I guess, but I don't like things popping off.
Well,
I've never had one pop off. Yeah.
Well, I did try dabbling.
But then again, I don't get running around the land room.
I don't do that either. I don't do that either.
Yeah, all right.
No, I really don't. And I don't. I wouldn't judge anyone who does. You know, more if that's your thing, I won't judge you for that. I've heard some stories about people who do a way too much of that, and yeah, I'll say I won't judge. But in any case, no, I just don't. I've used a bit of white glue in the past when I first started modeling. It didn't dry hard. Like hard, you know, and I didn't like that. I wanted something that would go on and not come off. I'm very sort of
pedantic
about that sort of thing.
Pedantic.
Yeah, I like to burn my bridges behind me.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. So as for the peat, little bit of a product review. I've tried the new Tamiya paints, the new lacquers, and I found it to have, mind you, I've only tried the one color, and it's a fairly light color, and it was their Imperial Japanese Navy grey.
Oh
The Tamiya one, which has a bit of a
the grey
greeny.
green. Yep.
And I found it to have very poor coverage. I needed to lay down like 3 coats, like blasting this stuff on, less thin down than I would normally prefer, and even then it doesn't really cover all the way.
No, because I'm using their Yokosuka Arsenal grey for the carrier. And yeah, that's going on really well because it's a darkish grey.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, I'm very interested in like how, like, if it's just it could even just be specific to my color. You know,
Yeah.
It might not be across all
You
lighter
undercoating?
colors. Yeah, in black. I mean, black is what I normally go to, and it's normally fine for most other paints.
Yeah,
that
I'd
includes
probably go a white or a grey.
Yeah, but see, I have no problem with black with other colors, and that includes Tamiya's regular acrylic line.
Right. Yep.
So I mean, it is. You know.
It's all a learning curve, isn't it?
Another second product review is because after I primed and painted, I found some like blemishes and things that I needed to fix up, so I sanded those down, and I tried the new, maybe not so new, the black primer from Mr. Paint. That ate into the plastic. It crazed the plastic.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So a bit
I've
like
never
using
seen that
straight
before.
Automotive paint on a bit of plastic does that.
Oh, jeez. Even now, I've sanded it all down and polished it up.
How'd you apply?
Still,
Did you flood it or dust it?
I wouldn't say I dusted it. I started off pretty average for like most sort of painting.
You might find you may need to just dust the first few coats on, just so it binds,
Yeah,
and
possibly.
then try putting thicker coats on.
It went down fine on the resin stuff because obviously you can't melt that.
Yep.
But even now, like I've sanded it down and it's smooth and it's prepped for repainting. Even then, it's sort of basically got like dark staining in it where the paint's like penetrated into the plastic.
Yep.
And tinted it.
It'll help give you a nice motley look when you start painting it. Yeah.
I would if I painted my base coats straight onto the plastic like you, but I prefer to prime.
I'm a primer.
Yeah. So I've used the Hasegawa photo etch kit that they made specifically for this model for the bracing between the upper and lower wing, and that works really good. The only criticism I would have of it is because they get you to sandwich photo etch 3 layers thick on either end where it attaches into the wings. And it's very obvious that you've sandwiched 3 pieces of photo etch together.
Yep.
And you kind of, what I did is I put a bit of super glue on either side to sort of build it up and make it look a bit more streamlined and everything.
Yes. What about you, Dave? What are you getting into?
I haven't done any modelling. I just can't seem to. I don't know.
Dave's lost his mojo.
No, I haven't lost my mojo. I mean, I've been buying kits like crazy, and in fact, I've gone absolutely nuts on the
144 scale, Dave.
Hang on, let me reach over and have another beer. Yes, I've gone crazy on those kits. So remember, I think the last episode I spoke about, I got some Phantom F4s for about $5 each. They arrived, along with a whole heap of other kits that I purchased as well. So I just reached in and grabbed them. Oh, where are we down here? So I got myself a company called A Model. They do an EE Canberra B Mark 20, which is the Aussie variant of the Canberra. I've got a Martin B57 B/C, which is the US version of the Canberra. And that's where the Americans decided to have, instead of having a side-by-side cockpit, they made the remodeled front of the Canberra, so it was
more streamlined.
Tandem. Yeah, more streamlined, and the nose is smaller because you haven't got the bomb aimer in the front on that one. An F-16 from Academy. I've got to say I really like the Academy kits. They look really cool. The only thing is with quite a few of these kits that I've got is that the decals aren't exactly 100%, so I'm going to have to look around for...
Aftermarket. Spend more money, Dave.
Yeah, and I've been hunting around, and especially with the F4Es that I bought, because I bought 4 of them, I want to do like a diorama of them, either have them sitting on the runway or maybe pose them flying in a formation.
Put them in their blast pens.
Yeah, in Vietnam could do that.
Or scratch build a carrier deck.
No, these are the US
the land-based
US
ones.
Air Force ones, yeah. So no, although I did get a carrier version. I don't know where that is floating around. I also got myself a MiG-23 flogger, and I got myself a CL-415, which is a water bomber. It actually comes along. It's amphibious boat, and it comes along, scoops water up. Made by the Canadians, and been flying since about 1963, I think. So I bought 2 of them, one for myself and one for a mate at work I'm going to build it for. So
nice.
But I've got to paint the yellow. And I'm
white first.
White first, and the yellow on top. So
you can get white primers.
Yeah, I've got one actually. I think I've got a rattle can primer. Tamiya, I think. I think I have. Yeah.
Doesn't really matter, does it? As
no,
long as
it's white. Yeah, as long as it's
really
white.
make that yellow pop.
So long as it's white. So that's pretty much all I have purchased. I'll talk about the airbrush later on and what's new. Ian, you want to talk about that later on and what's new?
Yep.
And you've bought something in tonight as well.
Yeah, I bought a kit.
And it's a gorgeous looking kit with the S on the end.
Right, yeah.
Tell us what you got. Come on.
Oh, well, it's the Edward, the limited edition boxing of their Focke-Wulf and 109.
In what scale?
In 148 scale.
It is gorgeous.
Yeah. So that's basically the Ram Jaeger and it's 109 Escort.
Yep.
So yeah, really nice markings, really nice kits, really nice plastic, the whole lot.
So does that mean you're going to eventually get a B17 or a B24?
I don't have the space for that sort of thing. I might have the space for a fragment of one. Just hanging on a bit of stringing inside my cabinet.
Yes.
It's just
Flaming
really
wreckage.
and the amount of different decals you've got, so you can have them in a range of different from a range of different squadrons, and it just I'm just blown away by the stuff that Edward.
What I haven't checked is if how would you know which 109s flew escort for which Focke-Wulfs?
You have to buy some books.
Oh, books.
Yeah.
I might just ask someone who knows better.
I've got a few books in the Luftwaffe in World War II, so I might have a hunt through later on.
Well, Chris Dowsett, who we've had on the podcast, he was the one who sort of piqued my interest in these specific planes, and I might ask him what he has to say about it.
Yeah, he's pretty good with the Ram Jaegers.
Yeah.
What I like about it is the way the sort of and the kit comes with everything you need. I mean, it's got all the photo etch. You don't have to buy anything aftermarket at all.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like Edward sell all the really nice aftermarket for their own kits,
especially the photo etch. The photo etch is gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they make photo etch for their own kits.
Instrument panel, whole shebang.
So they have all that in this kit.
Yeah.
Normally they would sell like say wheels and a few other bits and pieces and stuff. Like you can get cockpits and engines for these kits, but they're not in this kit. Most of the limited edition kits will have resin in them. This one doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Because obviously they think their kit
is
so good.
Doesn't need it.
Oh, that remains to be seen. I will be building them, so I'm not one to let things sit on the shelf for too long.
You going to do them wheels down or wheels up?
Wheels down.
You have them in formation because the 109s were used as escorts to the Focke-Wulfs were used for the take on the bomber streams, and the 109s were used as the escorts to the Focke-Wulfs.
Yeah. But even so, I'm not going to hang them up on a piece of string or put them on a stick.
Jeez, put them on a stick.
It's just not my style, you know.
Oh gosh,
I like the way a plane sits, like with the presence of a plane that is weighted. You know, not just the tires, but you see the compression of the suspension and everything, and it's a thing. It's the way you see them in photos, and it's the way I envision them in my mind, and
very good.
That's my way.
All right, let's wrap this up and we'll get into what's new. How's it sound?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, done. Back shortly. And we're back to have a chat about what's new. But before we do that, I'm going to introduce our special guest, Adam Dormer. Adam is been modelling since he's about 9. Always loved aviation since he was a kid and has been flying privately since he was about 20, even doing acrobatics. You actually owned or part owned your own acrobatic, Adam?
Yes. Sadly, I had to part with my share of a little aerobatic plane about 4 years ago, which was a bit tearful, but mounting costs of family and all the time, just it's kind of a bit like owning a race car, and if you're not using it, it's best that someone else, gets the opportunity. So,
and general aviation is not cheap as a hobby.
It's not. No. I mean, just to own the thing costs a lot of money because there's hangarage and insurance, and there's annual maintenance every year. It has to go through an annual.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So, before you even get to fly the thing, you're talking, some thousands of dollars, just to have that. So
instead you make plastic models because it's a cheaper.
Yeah. The risk is a damn sight less too.
Yeah, that's true too. The worst you can do is cut your finger.
That's right, or drop an X-Acto on your foot or something.
Yeah.
So or stick your fingers together. So
All right.
I'll get back into it. One day maybe. We'll see.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us. You're here to have a chat about the air war in Vietnam. But before we get there, we're just going to go through and have a look at what's new in the modelling world. And first off, I'm going to get Ian to kick that off because Ian has got a little something that he's just purchased recently.
Yes. Actually came in a couple of days ago. I purchased it through B&A Model World here in Australia online. It's the RP Tools cutting tool. So it's like the old chopper.
Yep.
And nice anodized red. You can adjust it to 30 up to 45 degrees. It's very solid, and I gave it a test run, and I'll tell you what, I love this thing. I may not use it every day of the week, but when I'm going to use it, it's going to be very, very handy.
Yeah, well, you're like me, a bit of a tool freak, and I love having sort of all different tools around, and that thing looks absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And if you're doing, even if you're not sort of scratch building, just when you're doing additions to your kit and stuff, that looks like a great little thing to have there in your back pocket to pull out and just sort of slice up some plastic.
Yeah, and you're guaranteed you're pretty much going to cut the right size every time.
Yeah, brilliant.
And at the right angle.
Fantastic. Well, I have got a little airbrush that got sent to us from all the way from Canada. Andrew Thomas, who runs the Sci-Fi Custom Collectibles page, he sent out a Badger Sotar 2020, and what a great little airbrush this is.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a play with it earlier on, and the comes with a standard needle is 0.21, I think, off the top of my head. And it is just absolutely, it feels really good in the hand. It's got some really fine adjustment for the needle, so you can sort of really dial in how wide that line is. The only criticism, I've got two criticisms with it, if I had to criticise it, is that the cup is fixed actually to the body of the airbrush itself.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't sort of have a larger cup. And the cup hasn't got any cover on top, and I'm prone to spilling things from time to time.
Well, you probably dance while you're painting. That's why.
I get so excited to put the paint down.
That's it. You get
jump
excited
around.
there. That's the problem.
That's a small cup too.
It's a half-ounce cup, so it's really tiny. But then again, the needle's so small, it's only for really super fine work.
Yeah. So whatever you're going to use it for, you're not going to use a lot of paint anyway.
No. Another idea that I like is that on the back of the needle, it's got a plastic knob, I guess you'd call it. That's actually attached to the needle itself, so it helps with pulling the needle out when you're cleaning it, when you want to get the needle out. And not only that, each different needle size, there's 3 different sizes you can get. The sizes escape me at the moment, but the other sizes come in a blue and a white, so you immediately know, looking at it, what size
needle you got. Yep.
Yeah, and I reckon it's a great idea.
Very good idea.
So it's a fantastic little airbrush, and as I said, I had a quick play with it earlier on. Loved it, and I think by all means, if you're looking for a new airbrush that does really super fine work, have a quick look at the Badger Sotar. Retails for about $96 US, I think, on Amazon. About that price. So yeah, I reckon it's a real little beauty.
I've read a bit about them. It's the kind of airbrush I would strongly consider if I was American or living in North America, anywhere there, because you got the home advantage of local spare parts, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, but everything's only the internet away now, so
yeah. But sometimes I want things now.
You're so
right?
impatient. You're so Generation X.
Oh yeah, like this kit that I bought, it took me, because it's a Christmas rush already. It took them 4 days, 4 working days.
Oh, it's so Generation
unhappy.
X.
Oh my God, got to have it now.
That's it now.
All right, moving on. Let's have a look at Revell and what they've announced for this month, for December. First of all, they have got let me take my glasses there on, and a EC-135 helicopter.
As the Germans would say, Hubschrauber.
In 1/32 scale. Length is about 390 mil, and number of parts 260, and that's going to cost about €30.
It's a little scout copter type thing, isn't it?
Yeah, just observation scout helicopter.
In 32nd scale is pretty.
I think
probably a pretty good scale for it, actually.
That's the only scale you can really do helicopters at, I reckon, because anything sort of smaller, because they're so small.
Well, unless you're doing something like a sea stallion.
Well, yeah, or a Chinook.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things, right, where you could. It's weird with the scales. It's like some people do it in 32nd, and some will do it in 35th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Certainly some military helicopters come out in 35th, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
Mm.
Quite nice too.
Next one is a Porsche 911 Targa. Ian doesn't like the European cars. Now, this comes in a funny sort of looking box which says Junior Kit. So
Probably snapped together, probably. And it'll probably have stickers rather than decals.
As a matter of fact, it doesn't snap together. It actually screws together. It comes with some screws with about about 8 screws, so you can actually just screw it together. The part's already painted, so it's almost like a semi-snap together. Great idea for young kids who are sort of just starting to get in the hobby. And a good way of introducing them.
It looks like the car.
And it looks awesome when it's sort of finished.
So it says batteries included. I think the batteries are for the electric screwdriver thing. I think.
I don't know enough about it, so that'll be an interesting one to keep our eye open for. Next, we have a motorcycle, a Honda CBX 400F in 1/12 scale. This would bring back a lot of memories for people who used to ride back in the 80s. The CBS were a great motorcycle, and this is going to build to a lovely little kit that is make a half-decent representation of that particular bike. In 1/44 scale, I'm going to call it a Dave scale now, so I'm going to buy so many kits in that scale. You've got the Boeing 747-8 Lufthansa in the new livery. Its wingspan is 476 millimeters. The length is 525 millimeters. And parts count is 172. So for the airliner modelers out there, you're going to really enjoy and love this. And it looks like it's going to build a really nice kit. Next up, still on Revell, they got BMW R75/5 in 1/8 scale.
Oh, that's a classic.
I used to have a BMW K100 RT, and I always used to lust after having the an R75. Such a classic motorcycle, still around in the streets today, and this is going to build a fateful reproduction of the bike. Even down to the point where the decals, which I really love, because on this particular motorcycle, on the side of the tank, the BMW swinging prop logo.
The Bavarian colours.
Yep. That was actually, the BMW logo was actually done as a enamel badge that went on the side.
Correct.
And on the decals for this model, they've actually got the 2 little screw holes showing on the side, representing that it is actually a
screw-on badge.
Yeah, which is awesome.
It's classified as a roundel, right?
A what?
Roundel. It's like on planes and stuff.
That was supposed to be a representative of spinning prop, because BMW's built aircraft engines.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, weren't they? Didn't they license build Pratts initially?
Initially, before the war, yes, I think they did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In 1/72 scale, we have a C160 Transal Elka, or Eloka, I should say.
Yeah.
It's a small 2-engined tactical
transport aircraft.
Transport aircraft.
It's probably not that small.
Well,
it looks like a twin-engine version of a Hercules.
Yeah, it does actually. It's very similar to the ones that the RAAF have just bought too. What are those ones called?
C27s.
Thank you. Yes. So this looks like a nice little build in 1/172 scale for those of you who like building your military stuff. Rightio, let's have a look now at what Italeri have announced for December 2018, and they are doing a truck, a Volvo FH4 Globetrotter XL. This is going to be in 1/24 scale. The size of the model is going to be 24.6 centimetres. And they're saying this is 100% new mould, so brand new kit. And the price is going to come in at about €67.
These things must be incredibly popular because they're coming out with so many of these models all the time, these trucks. Like, they're modern trucks, right?
Yeah.
And they release so many kits of them. There must be definitely an audience for
Well, there's a
them.
market for it.
There's
Yeah.
a huge
Yeah.
market for trucks. Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. It's one of those sort of sleeping, sort of quiet things where I don't think people necessarily admit to it, but they, you know what? I remember when I was a kid, model trucks used to be a huge thing back
Yes.
in the late 70s, early 80s.
yep.
Yeah.
I'd agree. I'd agree with that. I never built a truck myself, but I did know people who did.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone. Yeah. We all knew someone who built truck models.
And the joy
Yeah.
about building a truck model is you have to worry about weathering. It's going to be clean.
Not always.
Yeah, but
Depends
you're going to
what you
build
do.
it clean, aren't you?
I
You're not gonna
remember
weather
I
it.
built one truck. I built one truck model when I was a kid, and I think that was, I can't remember what brand. It might have been Monogram. It was the Junkyard Dog, and it was a beat up Mack truck full of dents and all that. That's how it came in the kit.
It came pre-dented.
Pre-dented, yes. The Junkyard Dog. Yeah. First time I ever tried weathering it. Boy, did I make a mess of it.
Italeri have announced an interesting partnership. They're now partnering with War Thunder, which is a computer game. Is it not?
Well, were they
Yes, it
also?
is.
Didn't they also partner with World of Tanks?
Yes, they
Yes,
have,
they
but
have.
now they're
Part of
going
the
with
same
War Thunder, and they're doing a BF-109 F4 and an FW-190 D9 in the same box in
Twin
1/72nd scale.
I would just want to say that this is really, really interesting because those two games, both World of Tanks and War Thunder, are generally competitors. They both have basically, tanks on the ground combat, but War Thunder is sort of a bit further on that in that they've also got planes and ships in the game, and they overlap within the game.
Okay.
So you only have to buy the one game, whereas World of Tanks, I think they've also got a second game called World of Warships.
Yeah, they do. World of Warships
Yeah.
is another big one. Yep.
Yeah, so it's really interesting that they're able to license the two competitors. It'd be like Revel having both a contract with Ford and GM.
Well, I just love the fact that these computer games are an entry or a gateway entry for the choice of addiction being plastic model building.
Yeah.
Because getting all those kids out there who are already hooked on computer games to be hooked on plastic, I reckon that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I
Totally-
think
totally
they're going to have to do something to attract a younger audience, otherwise it's going to die out with us.
Exactly.
Sure.
Totally agree, mate.
Well, yes, and it's funny you should say that, because we've spoken about this many occasions, but let's look how strong Gundam is at the moment, and even the feed-in World of Warcraft? Not World of Warcraft, sorry.
Warhammer.
That's all sort of, feed
Well,
in.
just even all the sci-fi stuff. There's plenty of movie goers out there
Yeah.
who want to own little figures and things of their stuff.
Yeah, they want to have a TIE fighter and...
They want to have the tank from Aliens 2,
Yes,
the
exactly
APC
right.
thing.
So I think this is a great idea that Italeri sort of jumped on this and sort of moving forward, and I guess it's a good way for them to actually not have to reproduce, or a new way for them to repackage some of their older toolings, perhaps.
Yep.
They're also doing not only the I think they're also doing another one. No, let me think. Have a look
So
here.
it's a Focke-Wulf.
Yep, it comes with some cement. So you got some cement, interesting green plastic that the Focke-Wulf comes in, and the F-109 comes in your traditional sort of grey plastic. So good on you, Italeri. I reckon it's a great idea. I think finally from Italeri got Mercedes-Benz L3000S, which is a 1/35th scale truck from World War II. Again, it would be great for making. Didn't really
I
German
love the
army.
camouflage. It just looks like someone's painted giant leaves on it.
So you got sandy coloured with sort of green sort of leaves painted on it, and it'd be great for those guys out there who enjoy.
It would be great for dioramas.
Yeah, that's true. In 1/35th scale, you could have a pose with some artillery or some tanks and stuff.
Yep.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, Italy 1944. I'm quite interested in like the Italian campaign. So yeah, that's of interest.
Yep. Cool.
Right, that's it from Italeri. Now, MiG they've announced something that's really interesting. They've actually teamed up to present an all-in-one sort of kit for building, I should say for painting your kits. So what they've done now is got an all-new in-one box for the USA World War II European theatre tanks, which also comes with 2 magazines and some of their earthing product that you can use.
Okay. So
inside the box, what you get, and this is really cool. So you open the box up, and it's like a cake box that sort of open up style, and they've got the foam inside, and they've got all the different weathering products and paints actually sitting inside their own little foam sort of box or little cutout.
Yeah.
I think it's an awesome idea.
So all the colours and weathering and all that
So
sort of stuff.
everything you need to paint and weather your models in World War II American vehicles and the European theatre is given to you. Absolutely everything, right down to the non-smell spirits and everything for when you're doing your
streaking.
and so forth. And not only that, they give you 2 magazines to show you actually how to paint and use all this, and it comes with a couple of 3 or 4 hairy sticks as well. So you got everything except an airbrush and the kit to actually go and start.
Interesting.
Very good.
Interesting. I reckon it's a really novel and great idea. And of course, you can build upon that into the future. I can quite see them doing this for a whole different range of things. You know, German tanks, Russian tanks, aircraft, and aircraft. There's a huge sort of range of stuff they can do for aircraft. So I think it's a really great initiative. No indication yet on prices. So it's interesting to see how much it sort of prices out at. And I'll just run through what's included in the box. So you've got
You got the book.
You got the book on World War II USA armour.
You got the primer.
You have a one-shot black primer. You've got the MiG 1750 Dry Earth. You have the MiG Olive Drab Base. The MiG Wet Mud. Olive Drab Highlights. Fresh engine oil, matte black gunmetal, it comes with old wood, the enamel odorless thinner, old rust, olive green, dark brown. What's that one above that?
Transparator? I'm not sure what that is. I think it might be like some kind of
coat.
Clear coat.
Is it?
I'd say so.
The varnish stain, or satin stain.
Okay.
Varnish satin, I should say.
Okay, so that's the clear, isn't it?
Yep.
I'm not sure what the transparent thing is.
Yep.
Green for grey green. Starship filth, whatever the heck that is. Dark wash, synthetic saw brush, European earth, synthetic round brush, and a synthetic flat brush.
With some dark earth.
Yeah.
So
It looks like a good starter set.
Yep.
I reckon it's a brilliant starter set. I really do. I think it's awesome. Absolutely awesome. So I hope I'll be interesting to see how much further they go with that if it starts to sell well. So we'll have to wait and see.
Totally agree.
Now, this might be interesting to you, Julian.
Okay.
There's a new book out and also a separate decal set featuring... Ian, can you read that from there? It's JG77 from Luftfahrtenwerk Start. It's a brand new book and separate decal set featuring the legendary JG77 of the German Luftwaffe. Is on the way from the team at Luftwerk I can't get that word out.
You can't pronounce it.
These guys are in the very top echelon for quality and research, so their new book and decals will be highly anticipated. And there's actually a review available on the Modelling News.
I reckon that's a great product.
Well, 240 pages, 54 colour photos, 170 black and white photos, 13 profiles, 14 operational maps, and it comes at a price of €64 in shipping. I'm not sure. I think it's only in German. It's not in English. But if you're buying this sort of product, you'd be buying it just
got some
for
nice
the pictures
profiles.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I reckon it's a great product, because I think that decals these days are a little bit in short supply. A lot of the old popular decal companies have sort of petered off and gone under, and there's not actually that much for someone new like me. There's not much decals around, really, aftermarket decals. And if this book comes with the right decals you want, you're going to buy the book anyway.
That's right.
Well, I'm having the issue struggling to find some decals in 1/144th scale, and
You'll find them.
yeah, So if anybody
They're
out there knows, drop me a line to onthebench64@gmail.com to let me know whereabouts I can get this the decals.
That's a
We're a community here, so if I need some help, I don't mind reaching out to our
that's a notch
large
above the
audience.
regular sort of classifieds looking for.
All right, Mini Art have announced the release of railway covered goods wagon. These are in 1/35th scale, and an interesting little thing for the guys who build rail cars. So
It'll go well with their with the Dragon trains.
it will. So these looks like mainly they've got a lot of decals for Russian. So I think these are the Russian sort of standard gauge ones. And it's got some painting instructions there for about 6 different variations. And for those of you who enjoy your railway stuff in that scale models, you're going to get quite a lot out of this. And I think it's going
Was it 35th scale?
Yeah, it was 1/35th scale.
See, we've seen like quite a few releases of those, those armored carriages,
Which I love.
Those
So
train
science
carriages.
fiction-y. I love
Yeah, but
it.
I mean, if you've got one of those, but you don't have any regular cars to put up next to it,
Yeah.
you can't really do much with
You
it.
need your rolling stock.
Yeah. Fill it full of bedraggled people on their way off to the gulags. They look pretty good. Well, it's a Russian sort of covered
It's
wagon.
full
It
of
is a Russian
Russians heading
wagon.
towards the front.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as they get off, they get every second man gets a rifle.
Yep.
Okay. What have we got next up? Master Box got new kits for January, February. They're doing some American troops from the Airborne, the
101st
Screaming Eagles. The kit comes, or the box comes with 4 troops, which can be posed in different poses in 1/35th scale. And for those of you who enjoy your figure building and painting, you get quite a lot out of it, so it should be pretty cool.
I like the poses.
The poses are good, and it looks like you can sort of change it around a bit, or are they
not
fixed?
too much. No, they're pretty much with Master Box. They're pretty much
okay.
fixed.
All right.
Yeah, so they're sort of posed in such a way that they're sort of on either side of a door or some other or a,
Yeah, about to
or
throw a
behind,
grenade in.
Yeah, behind a wall or something, throwing a grenade in. Yeah, about to storm in.
Yeah. The next one is sort of
Steampunk.
Yeah, it kit's in 1/24th scale. It's called At the Edge of the Universe: Strange Company's Adventures, Episode 1, The First Meeting. Irene Liori, Let's Hide on Steam Planet. Well, that's a big title for a model.
It's a huge one.
So it's a lady in stockings and a very short red dress.
They wouldn't call that a dress.
Call that nightwear.
Yeah.
And a little tiny little top hat.
And
It's very burlesque looking.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
very
that's a good
burlesque.
egg. You're spot on there. Jeez. I didn't think you'd... Yeah, okay. Burlesque style with the steampunk sort of edge to it. I'm sure that'll appeal to some of the model builders or figure painters out there.
Yep.
Last but not least, what have we... No, I think that's it, actually. That is it. Have you guys got anything new?
No, not really.
No, only what I bought in.
No.
No, nothing at all?
No.
All right. In that case, I think we might take a very short break and then we'll roll into the next subject with Adam talking about the Vietnam Air War. Back shortly. And we're back to have a talk about the Vietnam Air War. I have to say that the Vietnam Air War was a first for so many reasons. Well, the Vietnam War was a first for so many reasons. It was the first TV war. It was the first helicopter war. And I'd have to say it's the first missile war as well, where we saw large sort of SAMs and aircraft with just purely missiles, like the Americans with their Sparrows and their Sidewinders. Not necessarily going too well, but have to be one of my... And also, it really informed the air war into the Yom Kippur War, Israel against the Arab countries as well, because the Soviets took all their lessons that they learnt in regards to air defence and applied it to the Arab states, which gave the Israel Air Force a hard time in 1973. But the scope of the war too, in regards just to the air war that was fought, was just amazing. So in total, the United States military lost almost 10,000 aircraft and helicopters over the period of the war, which is a staggering number of
Very
losses.
large amount, yeah.
It's phenomenal.
There are about nearly 12,000 US helicopters that served in the war, and US records show that of those, they lost nearly half, 5,607, not necessarily all to combat. The Republic of Vietnam itself lost over 1,000 aircraft and helicopters between 64 and 73. And over 877 aircraft were captured by the North Vietnamese when they successfully overran South Vietnam in 75. Whereas North Vietnam lost about 150 to 200 aircraft and helicopters during the space of the war. So,
Because they never had many.
well, that's true as well, yeah.
Relative to the US, numbers.
True.
But it seems that the figures are showing that more F-4 Phantoms were lost than any other type of aircraft that were in service with any nation. So the F-4s really carried it. But getting closer to the subject we're going to talk about, in particular the Thunderchief, there were 335 of those lost in total, of which 283 were lost in combat. So you have to say that the US Air Force went into Vietnam at a disadvantage because their aircraft weren't for that type of combat or that type of war.
Look, I totally agree. Like, you mentioned the F-105. That was an aircraft purely made for tactical nuke strike.
Yep.
So, to fly very fast, very low, and carry a couple of nukes. So it really wasn't designed for dropping iron bombs, even though it did it phenomenally well. But they had to
or chasing after SAM sites.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
it
right.
did that in its Wild Weasel
Yeah, the
configuration.
Wild Weasels,
it did
yeah.
that quite well, absolutely.
But they lost a lot doing it.
Yeah, for sure. But you're right. I mean, the US Air Force is sort of primarily designed and built to stop incoming fleets of Russians. They were mainly interceptor rather than fighters they built. And I would say a lot of the lessons that were learnt, you saw that coming in the way, shape and form of the F-16 and the F-15 in the early 70s when those designs were coming in. So there's some really hard lessons that were learnt by the US Air Force. And,
you also have to remember it was a war of attrition. If you look at, the first bit of the air war up north, Rolling Thunder, it went for, really from sort of 65 to 68. And, I mean, the aircraft that carried the bulk of the air war up north was the F-105.
Yes.
It did something like 60% of the the airstrikes in North Vietnam, and so they just lost them. It was also because the North Vietnamese were very, very good at using the assets they had. It was just the Americans just slowly ran out of them because the tempo was so high, with the aircraft that they used, and everyone from farmers firing AK-47s right through to the start of the SA-2s coming, and then the MiG-17 and MiG-21. It was a very layered defense.
Yeah.
So they used what they had extremely well. And I don't know how much you've read up on it, but the American pilots were so hampered by really, really restrictive rules of engagement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Though it was just insane, in terms of, right through to the White House, Lyndon Johnson was joking with, Defense Sec McNamara that, none of those boys can bomb an outhouse without my permission.
And they were hampered in two ways. There was the political dimension to it, and obviously, as time goes on and more information comes to light, but Lyndon Johnson, he was, or the White House itself was desperately afraid that to not escalate the war.
Yeah, that was
because the Korean War was so fresh in their memory, where China stepped in and came streaming across the border, and they were so fearful that would happen either from the Russians or from the Chinese that they had these crazy restrictions on what they could bomb and what they couldn't bomb, even down to the timings it could fly over and the different corridors that they'd have to take, the aircraft would have to take.
Yeah, and of course, the with those restricted corridors, the North Vietnamese, all they had to do was put all their guns and missiles, along those corridors.
Yep.
But it was not just that. It was also the second restriction that the U.S. Air Force, not so much the Navy, but the U.S. Air Force had, is that they didn't have good radar coverage until really late in the war across the whole of North Vietnam. So they were constantly at a disadvantage by not knowing what was ahead of them. Whereas the US Navy, at least they had some radar coverage into the areas that they were attacking. So it was very rare for the US Navy pilots to get caught or blindsided or jumped. Whereas, unfortunately, the US Air Force, they didn't have that same advantage, and that cost them dearly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think there's some figures somewhere saying out of the times when the US Air Force got jumped by the North Vietnamese Air Force because of the disadvantage that they're at, only 62% of the losses there or something like that. I've got to dig out, and I've got some paperwork here somewhere. But it was it was that bad that they didn't have that sort of the coverage for them to sort of go in and know what was ahead of them, and it was just so easy for the North Vietnamese to jump them.
And also, the getting the escorts to to do their thing and be there, on time with the strike fighters too. That was quite an issue for the F-105 community. They were always bitching that the Air Force were never there. Yeah. And the F-105 was a slipperier aeroplane too. It was it was quite a bit faster. In terms, it was a lot less draggy.
Yep.
And so they just seem to sort of leave the F4s behind quite often, even carrying a load of bombs. So, I think there's still a bit of angst between the 105 and the F4 community as to who did what and how well and so on. But that's pretty typical.
Yeah,
you're always going to get that.
Absolutely.
But also, the war also heralded some really interesting aircraft, and certainly there's an Australian flavour in there as well. Well, the F-111 first saw combat, and quite successfully in Vietnam.
Yeah, in the very first deployment, I'm just trying to remember the name of it. There were 6 aircraft. I think they were deployed to Tuckley, Combat Lancer, I think it was called, and they lost 3. I think they managed to recover the wreckage of one of them, and I think they found it was a catastrophic failure of an elevator.
Yep.
But yeah, they sent 6, 3 didn't come back. But in linebacker, in 72, that deployment was very good. When they were, whizzing out at night by themselves, they did a far better job, in that very end bit of the air war.
And probably one of the best bombers to come out of that war. I mean, certainly going into Gulf War One.
Yeah,
there was a lot of hype about the F-117 and how good that was, when in fact a lot of the heavy lifting was actually done by the F-111s during that particular war.
Yeah,
and that was purposely kept out of the media because the Air Force wanted the F-117 to be the sort of star of the show.
Yeah, well, the 117, we're sort of doing thread drift here, I guess, but it's all related. But the 117 did knock down the door on the first night. It went in, downtown Baghdad, and took out, a lot of the integrated air defense network, allowing, all that work, for the non-stealthy aircraft later on.
Yeah.
Triple One's doing all the tank plinking, and I mean they knocked out thousands of tanks, the Triple Ones.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great aircraft, and Sorry to see it's not flying anymore, though. Perhaps it's reached the end of its life anyway. But you're right, bit of thread drift there, so we'll try and pull it back.
Yeah, but it's it's all tied in together, isn't it?
Yeah, it is absolutely. So the F-105, you've actually built one. You did the. Let me refresh my memory now. The Trumpeter version.
I do. Yeah.
The 1/32 scale.
I do. Yeah, it was a sort of a very much a love-hate relationship building it because there's so much wrong with the kit.
Right.
So I was it was quite a passionate build. From all my reading and so on, and I corresponded with one guy during the build. This guy called John Piawati, who he took out a span of a big bridge in North Vietnam, and this guy's a legend. He's got and still has one of the best moustaches I've ever seen. Freaking awesome. It's waxed and it's curled up at the end. It looks like a cartoon, moustache.
Yeah.
And this phenomenal guy is just, the atypical air warrior. He's in his 80s now. But he's sharp as a Japanese sword, this guy.
So he's an actual pilot during the war and flew the Thunderchiefs, and you got in contact with him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think it was through large scale planes. There was this Greek modeler who built a fantastic F-105, same kit, and I saw he'd been corresponding with John, and then so I got onto that, and he was kind enough to tell me some of his stories. He ended up flying Cessna 02s during the Gulf War, for surveillance stuff, So working for the CIA.
Yep.
So he was literally in competition with drones at times. He always reckoned he did a better job because just because of the field of view of the drones was so narrow.
Yeah.
He'd often overfly a target and just not see anything.
Yeah.
Better thread drift again, but I've been lucky enough to correspond with a couple of these guys, and the stories are just really jaw-dropping stuff. There's another guy called Vic Vizcara. He's a total legend because he's a brilliant artist, and he did some fantastic nose art for 2 F-105s.
Yep.
They're naked women, but they were positioned right over the front refueling pod.
Oh, I've seen decals for those. Yep. So he's the guy who did them.
It was to give the tanker crews a bit of
eye candy.
Yeah, a bit of eye candy, and also to just so they could do a pretty good job. Just to,
aim for the right spot, boys.
Hit the target. Yep. So, but he got in a bit of trouble with the second one he did because it was going through that the original 105s were all silver, with an anti-glare thing just forward of behind the cockpit. There'd be sort of like a khaki, and I think it was ended up being black, behind the cockpit. But anyway, the aircraft he'd painted up was going through the paint shop, and the base wing commander saw the artwork and just totally, the shit hit the fan big time. The reason he didn't get in big trouble was because he'd had an engine failure. He wasn't in route pack 6, luckily, right up north. He was in route pack 1, and the engine seized.
Yep. So
he had to eject, and he was in the jungle for a few hours, and was actually rescued by the Navy. So he jumped on this helicopter, and there are photos of him. His eyes are like saucers, and it was probably, he reckons it was more shock that because he was totally freaked out that he ended up on an aircraft carrier. After he was like, what happened here? But yeah, he's an awesome guy to chat to or correspond with, and both of his sons ended up fighter pilots as well, but funnily enough in the Navy. So they both flew F-14s and F-18s. Right. So he reckons that was all to do his payback for being rescued by the Navy.
It's karma.
Yeah, so it is a complete privilege to to learn hear some of these stories by these guys.
So with the actual Trumpeter model, what aftermarket stuff did you sort of really have to?
Pretty well everything that one could get, I crammed into it.
Right.
There was a lot of cutting edge. I don't know if you've ever heard of cutting edge.
Yep.
There was a lot of aftermarket stuff from cutting edge, and there was like the fin rudder was replaced, the nose, the intakes were replaced.
Yep.
The nose was replaced because in the kit it's the radome is completely straight. In fact, in the real thing, it's got a gentle curve.
Yep.
The canopy and the rear turtle deck behind the canopy was replaced. Cockpit replaced. Wheel wells replaced. Metal gear, because the plastic gear, the model's so heavy, the plastic gear just bananas.
Yes.
The bomb rack, which holds the centerline bomb rack, which holds 6 bombs, that was replaced. So it was bit of Aries, bit of cutting edge.
So what you ended up with was just a resin kit then? Yeah,
it was about essentially it was probably by weight. It's probably about 55% resin, 45 plastic. Yeah, so it's a heavy enough model.
I was just recently over in Hawaii and went to the Air Museum out there, and in one of the hangars they've got the 2-seat version of the Thunderchief, the G model.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't know, something about that particular aircraft. It's got this, and the paint, the Southeast Asia camouflage has this real sort of beautiful, sort of faded, weathered look to it, even when it sort of was freshly done. And this aircraft is sitting in a hangar, and it had that lovely faded look. And what I loved about that particular museum, you could walk up and sort of touch the aircraft and feel it, and you can just feel all the history oozing out of it.
Mate, I'm so jealous. I've not seen a 105 yet.
You've got to go to Hawaii and have a look.
Yeah, that's the nearest one.
And that's how history's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be looked at behind a velvet rope. You're supposed to be able to go and touch it, and it was just absolutely gorgeous.
I mean, 99.9% of the human race are pretty sensible. They're not going to swing off the pitot tube, or you're always going to have some idiots out there, but most people are going to be pretty sensible.
Exactly.
So getting your paint to look similar to that sort of faded look, was there any sort of particular techniques that you used to get that sort of faded look?
Not really with the so it's certainly in terms of putting the paint down, it's just putting the paint down. It's more what I do afterwards. I love playing around with artist oils.
Yep.
Anyone who's sort of spent any time near an aeroplane, particularly jets, knows that they get really freaking filthy, particularly underneath. They're always smeared with oil. And I mean, the big jets, because they've got hydraulic systems which are under, quite a lot of pressure, it's often 5,000 something PSI, they always leak. Yep. So you've always got a smear of oil underneath them. And, what's oil do? It just, attracts dirt.
Yep,
so
it does.
I'm very much a thing of very much of the mind of just trying to make them look as realistic as possible relative to, however many photos I can look on a particular subject. So I do a lot of sludge washing and, with artist oils, and on terms of the upper surface, I tend to use, I'll do a few little dots of white here and there, and spread those out. And I'll throw, when I do a final matte or satin coat, I'll throw a couple of little drops of grey, a light grey in.
Yep.
Because to me, many models, the model will do a fantastic, paint job, but aircraft, when they're kept outdoors, they just attract a lot of dust. And the 105s, they weren't kept in shelters.
Just in hard pens.
Hard stands. Yeah, so Southeast Asia climbs, high humidity. They all had cartridge starts, so they blew big black clouds on
Soot
starting.
everywhere, yeah.
Soot everywhere, and then you've got all the oil aspect.
That red dust that's famous from Vietnam.
Well, even Thailand where they operate.
Well, they were in Thailand, yes. Yeah. I don't know how how much I can't remember the type of soil it is, but probably high iron content. I don't know if they had much red soil in Thailand. But yeah, it's just general filth and grime, but the 105s varied greatly in that when they came out of what was called IRAN, it's inspect, repair and replace. It was like they'd go through a major overhaul, and they quite often went to they might have been flown to Japan or even Taiwan in some instances for a big IRAN. They'd come out looking like factory fresh.
Yep.
But because of the very high tempo that they went through, within probably a month or two, they looked like complete shit. And with the high rainfall and the other thing aircraft do, flying through rain it's like a sandblast. If you're flying at 500 knots and you're flying through rain, that's a fantastic way of stripping and fading paint.
Yep, for sure.
So, I've seen it in, planes flying at 150 knots and, just strips off paint.
That's a really interesting thing you mentioned there. Because that's not something that I think gets mentioned a lot by modelers. Or at all. I don't think I've heard that before.
But it's like anything. It's just check your references.
Yep.
And they, as I say, like aircraft like, F-105s, F-4s with that, Southeast Asia, the 3-color camo, they really fade. There's some good photos of I don't know if Colonel Robin Olds. He was
Yep. He did that famous operation where they tricked the North Vietnamese into thinking they were F-104s, and they
Operation Bolo.
And I think they shot down 7 MiG-21s on that mission, on that one flight.
Yeah. Well, you look at his F4, and the original USAF F4s were in the very much like the Navy colours. They were white with grey.
Yep.
And then they quickly assumed the Southeast Asian paint scheme. But you look at his, and there are big chips of paint off all over it. Like where the boarding ladder goes in, and just where they've been crawling around on top of it. Really big sections of paint have come off.
But not even military aircraft. Even just civil. Next time you step onto a passenger jet when you're going to fly off somewhere, just stop as you're walking off the air bridge and have a look down the fuselage and even around the door for that matter, and see how grimy it is. And that's just from an everyday operation flying, Melbourne to Sydney or New York to Washington or London to Liverpool or whatever. They get really dirty. Yep.
Look out on the wing, look at all the hinge points. Look at all the hinge and actuator points, the servo actuator points on an airliner wing.
Yeah.
And you'll just see this, grey, grimy, smear coming back from it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of my bugbears. If I ever could be bothered making an airliner, I'd do a real one, because I just make it filthy just to give them all the shit, because
I like the way you phrase that.
Airliner builders, they love making them absolutely pristine. Like you're looking into a travel shop.
Well, they could just fresh out of the Boeing factory or the Airbus factory at Toulouse, so they would be fairly clean, that first one. But gee, after about a month or so,
Totally agree.
So tell us about your other Vietnam aircraft you built. The Tamiya Douglas A-1 Skyraider.
Yeah, that's another very favourite aeroplane of mine. I love the A-1 Spad.
Yes.
Perhaps the only one of the aircraft that the US Air Force was flying at the time that was suited for its role.
Yeah, and they flew a number of different missions. The one I've fitted mine out was for combat search and rescue. So it's fitted out with white phosphorus bombs and the little smoke grenades that shot. They're in a sort of a 6-tube affair, and they would drop a little trail of smoke bombs behind. So the helicopters could fly in and pull the guys out of the jungle. But I read a book called Cheating Death by a guy called George Murat. It's an awesome book. And Murat was an F4 test pilot at Edwards, and his primary job was to work out why all these USAF Air Force had been crashing, often quite close to the airfield.
Yep.
And, with all his research, it worked out it was how they were loading the aircraft, and the center of gravity was too far aft. So they made them very pitch sensitive. So, these hot dog F4 pilots would come screaming back to base, and they'd pull a few too many Gs, and the aircraft would just depart, and it would just, spin in from a low altitude. And so this guy, after working this out, he was flown all across the US. He was flown to Europe to give briefings to everyone. They put him in his own, he was only a captain at the time, and they put him in a Saberliner to give all these briefings. And I think it basically, flying around giving bad news to all these, US Air Force, senior people, I think, gave them the shits.
Yeah.
And so his next assignment was A1s, Southeast Asia, flying out of Nakhon Phanom in Thailand.
Yeah.
One of the most dangerous jobs ever. And during his tour, 1/3 of his squadron mates were killed.
Wow.
So it was very, very, so
191 Skyraiders were lost in total.
Yeah.
Of those, 150 were combat losses.
Yeah. So very, very, very dangerous job, combat search and rescue particularly, because they would basically troll for guns. They would go in first, fly low and slow, and, when the guns opened up on them, then they could then call in airstrikes. So, it's just massive balls of steel.
And of course, the Skyraider, in its next guise, informed the design of the Thunderbolt 2.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So just, bigger, better, faster.
More armoured.
Yeah.
And triple redundancies in just about all the flight systems.
Yeah. And, but yeah, they still got hammered though. If you look at, what the A-10s went through in Gulf War One, they took a severe beating, but, they were tougher. So, the ones that got hit, most of them got back.
Absolutely.
Just like their namesake in the Second World War.
Yeah.
P-47 Thunderbolt. I've seen some footage of one of those come back in, and you can actually physically see the piston.
Yeah, a couple of cylinders blown off.
Yeah, cylinders being blown halfway, and the pistons and it's still running.
That's a beauty about your radial engine. You can drop a couple of cylinders and it'll still keep firing.
Correct.
Yeah. I'll tell you, there's one interesting stat for the A1. They essentially what limited their range wasn't so much fuel; it was actually oil. Because with that big engine, what was deemed an acceptable oil burn was 6 gallons per hour.
Whoa.
That's 6 gallons per hour of oil.
Wow.
That's a lot of oil.
And that's why it was nicknamed the self-lubricating airplane, because it was freaking covered in oil.
Yeah.
Like all the ground guys, like after a fresh rain, if they were having to, work on the guns or something on the wings, they'd often slip off because it was just
so slippery, from the oil.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I thought that was pretty amusing. So but yeah, because I think it had a 37 gallon capacity oil tank.
Yep.
And in George Murat's book, when he was a fresh A1 pilot, when he was learning to fly in Herbert Field in Florida, he saw a truck pull up, like what looked like a fuel truck, and this young airman flipped the he could see, he was watching, he saw him, he flipped the the little latch for where the oil goes, and he puts a hose in, and George comes running up, mate, what are you doing? You can't put fuel in there, that's your oil tank. And the airman said, yeah, I know.
That's what it is. That's oil.
So they had an oil truck.
Yes. Wow.
It wasn't just a few little cans of oil sort of, being topped up. It was, they went through a shitload of
fill
oil.
the reservoir.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I did on mine. It's just grime to buggery. Just the good old raw umber oil.
Yep.
With terps, and you just you just sort of, it's like you build it up. You put like little streaks here and there, and you just go over it again and again. And if you do too much, I get a cotton bud with terps on it.
Yeah, just wipe it off.
And then so you can. It's actually, it takes time, but it's actually not a hard process.
No.
If anyone's done it, it's the most fun part of the build for me. Dirtying them up.
Yeah, I agree. I like weathering.
So with your Tamiya kit, did you strike any difficulties with it, or being Tamiya was it a fairly straightforward?
No, the thing fell together.
Yeah.
The only thing I did, the kit, they had quite an interesting ejection system. It was called the Yankee extractor system, and so the seat doesn't go off. So when they want to bail out, the canopy comes away, and a rocket fires, and basically literally yanks the pilot out.
Oh, geez.
So the seat stays there.
Yep.
So his blade shot out with his parachute, and that's not replicated in the kit. So I had to do a little bit of scratch building on the seat to sort of replicate the Yankee system. I added some sort of antennas here and there because they had 3 different types of radio. They had HF, VHF, and UHF.
Yep.
So a few other little antennas here and there. I think I scratch built the white phosphorus bombs too, because they weren't in the kit. A few little things here and there, but yeah, it was actually a really fun build, as opposed to the Trumpeter.
which fortune all the way along.
Yeah. Cost me a fortune. But anyway,
Ian is well familiar with fortunes because we were just talking about his aircraft carrier earlier on that he's building, and once he's finished, I reckon it's going to top out at 4 figures.
Yep.
Oh my God.
That's a 1/350 scale.
I salute you, Ian. You beat me.
Yeah, I'm known as the crazy Australian.
Look, we're all pretty mental. We're all grown men gluing little bits of plastic together.
Too true, mate. Totally agree.
But it keeps us out of the pub, so
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Too true.
Could be a lot worse.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, totally agree.
Look, Adam, we're getting hard up against the clock, so look, I'll leave that there. But you've sent me a couple of your pictures of your 2 kits we were talking about, so I'll post them on our Facebook page. Also, you're a bit of a fan with late Luftwaffe aircraft as well, so
yes, I am. Yeah.
I might have to get you back, and we'll have a session on late Luftwaffe aircraft because Ian's a nut on Focke-Wulf 190s, and
I like the Wergers.
And Julian's just bought himself the latest Edward multi-kit, the BF 109 and the FW 190 in the same what do you call it, smart kit thing?
It's like a limited edition box from Edward.
What scale's that?
That's 48.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
so it's the Ram Jaeger with escort basically.
Oh, fantastic.
So I think we might have to get you back in on the new year to have a chat about that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Happy to participate. Yeah.
So what are you working on at the moment anyway?
Me, I'm still finishing off my Trumpeter 262. So
in what scale?
That's the 32nd scale one.
Oh, yep. The A1A.
Yeah. The
single seat. Yep.
A1. Yeah. So I'm doing what is it? EJG2. One of the early test commando.
Yeah.
Sort of around, sort of, I don't know when it was, around September, October 44. So it's going to be in the greys.
Oh, interesting. You don't see many in the greys.
Greys with a yellow band.
Yep.
Oh, lovely.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but that's
white number.
Yeah, white number. Yeah.
Yep.
How long has this project been in the pipeline?
You know that.
I actually don't. I know it's a long time. I don't actually know how long.
It's about, I don't know, it's about a 3 or 4 year, slowly building. I built a couple of things in between.
Yeah, you have. You have.
Yeah.
I totally screwed up the leading edge slats. I was trying to be a bit clever and make them look a bit more aerodynamic. And I thinned them down, put a bit of Tamiya putty on them, and I just warped them all
Oh,
jeez.
ouch.
And then I tried to straighten them, glued them on, and they all look crap. And so, but luckily I got a complete sprue. Isn't eBay fantastic? I got a complete wing sprue with the leading edge slats.
Oh, good score.
So yeah, I'm in the process of fixing all those up.
Excellent.
Bloody modelling.
Adam, thanks very much for being on the show. We'll definitely
Absolute
have you
pleasure.
on early in the new year. And
Yep.
Until then, thanks very much.
Yes, definitely.
Absolute pleasure.
All right, good on you, mate.
Okay.
See ya.
See you, Adam.
See ya.
See you guys.
Well, that was a really interesting chat with Adam.
It sure was.
And just as we were sort of off there, he was talking about he actually owns a F-105 joystick.
Yeah.
So he's a bit of a sad case, I think.
Nah, he's like the rest of us, mate.
We'll just have to get him back on again in the new year for sure. Yeah.
I'd love to have a few control columns.
Yeah, well, there's actually you can buy replica ones, and
Correct, yes.
like it's almost like a model kit in its
I
own
know
right.
some company makes even the German Revy gun sights.
Yeah, do they?
Yep.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing the kind of things you can get out there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even the model companies like Eduard, they do those weird, what's it
One
like?
quarter scale.
Yeah, quarter scale instrument panels.
I reckon that's awesome.
I remember the first time I saw that, I thought, who would want that though?
I'd want one.
You would want
I
one.
would. I reckon it'd look terrific.
I suppose it'd be a good thing to hang up on your wall, wouldn't it?
Yeah. There's a guy who actually does replica nose art, and he does the aluminium
rivets
and
it.
the rivets and everything as well, and reproduces sections of aircraft from World War II.
Mm.
It's not cheap. It's really expensive, but damn, it looks good.
Mm.
Look good hanging on the wall here in the studio.
Well, you'd have to make some room, Dave.
Yeah. Anyway, let's have a chat about the year in review. And it's been a huge year for modelling, has it not?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've seen so many new kits and rumours of kits, and then kits actually coming out.
And surprises, new companies coming out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big ticket items are the large-scale kits that sort of took everybody by storm, particularly the 1/32 scale Lancaster.
I think that's probably the biggest news this year for modelling.
I think it was the biggest shock.
Yeah, considering coming from a company like Wings,
by far. It was the biggest
actually
shock.
delve into the Second World War. It's just, it's just...
Well,
and then when you see the drawings, the CADs and the photos of the built-up thing, it's just... It is like the pinnacle.
Mm.
Upsets like this don't happen too often in the modelling world, do they?
Not really. Not to my knowledge. You usually find most companies rehash the same type of aircraft time and time again.
Yeah.
Like,
But you got the company that's doing all the paper panzers now, and then they're putting them out on the regular drum beat now.
Azure, is it Azure models? Or
I was going to say Tacom.
Amusing Hobby.
Amusing Hobby, yeah.
Yeah, amusing. Yeah.
Tacom, they've been pumping out some really interesting armour stuff in recent times.
Well, armour in general, just going gangbusters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
The big surgents in First World War kits.
Yeah, well, that's to be expected given the 100th anniversary and everything.
Yep.
But it's great to see it, though, isn't it?
Yeah. You can get a kit of almost every World War One armoured vehicle now.
Oh, pretty much, yeah.
Almost.
I think pretty much nearly every
probably
armoured
a few.
vehicle would be covered now.
There's probably a few obscure ones out there that probably haven't been covered.
But just some of the clever packaging that the paint companies are doing, like we were talking earlier on about ammo, what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, the paint companies now getting on the bandwagon of, well, if you buy a kit, we'll give you the 4 paints or 6 paints in a separate kit that you need for those particular models. So you don't have to sort of second guess what type of colours or anything you need to look for anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
What really interests me is what is a modeler going to be like if their first experience already includes paint and all the weathering products, right? Like most people will start off with just the paint and then they'll see what other people are doing and then maybe they'll dabble a bit in the weathering. But if they're doing weathering off from the get-go,
yeah, and
that's interesting.
And not only that, they've got the books and the step-by-step instructions to show them how to do it. I mean, geez, we had to figure this stuff out when we were trying it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was all trial and error in my day.
Yeah.
If it didn't look good, well, it got binned.
And providing the price point is at the right position,
Yeah.
it can only mean good things for the hobby as it moves forward.
Mm.
Yeah, that's the only discouraging thing is I wonder how they will price it, because obviously a beginner is going to have a lower committing price.
Well, kids aren't going to have the income of adults.
Yeah. But at the same time, an adult
Returning
will
to the
buy
hobby.
a kid
Yeah.
like a full set, right? They're more likely to go, oh, it's Jimmy's, my cousin's birthday. I'll just buy him this whole thing.
Yeah. Well, you look at it, it's pretty much the same like with that Games Workshop. Like their stuff is phenomenally expensive.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's aimed at the young teenagers.
At the younger modelers.
Mm.
And I remember when I was young and I dabbled in it, and it was like I stopped doing it because it was just costing me too much.
Yeah.
It was just stupidly expensive, so I'll go back to just building kits. It's cheaper. Until I started building ships. Thanks, Dave.
That's all right.
Get me into ships.
Sorry to get you into that. Well, it's actually submarines first, wasn't it? And then the ships sort of followed.
Yes, submarines, yeah.
Yeah.
So I never ever wanted. I've always thought building submarines is boring. And then I built one and thought, oh, this is great. What have I been doing all my life?
Somehow I'm not gonna. I maintain that I will not have that feeling.
Oh, wait till you build a submarine. They're good fun.
I don't know. It's like a plane without the wings, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Kind of.
Yes.
No windows either.
Well, depends if it's Russian, might have windows.
I won't have to worry about my CA fogging the canopy, will I?
No, you won't. But even just for us as a podcast, it's been a huge year. We've kicked some big goals this year. We had the modelling competition we went to and did a broadcast from there.
Oh, yeah, from Melbourne Expo,
and
yes.
that was awesome.
Yep. It was a 3-day event.
Where-
Can't wait till next year.
No,
Do
absolutely.
it all over again.
It's episode 40, this one, and just looking around the world where we actually go to now, and the US market is by far the largest listener base. Followed by that is Australia, and hot on the heels with about 30 downloads between us is the United Kingdom. Canada's next, and then some surprising companies sort of pop up. You've got Germany, all the Scandinavian companies, Norway, huge base of listeners up there, and in Sweden, Finland, Denmark. There's another sort of big area where people are listening to us. The Netherlands, larger again.
Ah.
France.
A lot of great
Spain.
modelers in all of Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Greece have got some fantastic modelers over there.
They do, yeah.
Yeah. I've seen some books like from Sweden and that from some of the modelers there, and their work is amazing. Really good. The Northern European modelling community is just phenomenal what they can pump out.
As we swing around into Asia, you've got a large listener base in Japan, the Philippines, Korea. There's a couple listening to us over there in Korea, and I've got to say, I'm keeping my eye on the Koreans because you've heard of the Spanish school in regards to your weathering and everything. My God, what the Koreans are doing with their water effects for ships and stuff like that. It is just
amazing,
jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm yet to see any of them sort of explain how they do it, but it is just staggering to see how they're getting...
Also, figure painters too in South Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see like Alpine and a lot of other those figure companies, they'll get South Korean painters to do their box art type stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to do the example to sell the product. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Really high level work.
Yep.
To continue around the world, we've got a large listener base in Brazil, down through Peru, Argentina, South Africa, over in the African continent. There's one person who's actually listened to us from Cameroon.
Hello to you.
Which I always find amazing. Iceland, there's a small but determined bunch over in Iceland who listen to us from time to time. And Greenland, there's one individual over there. So g'day to Greenland. But it's just been great to see the show grow so much.
Yep.
See the feedback we're getting now from all the listeners and the way they're engaging with us.
Yep.
And of course, if you want to engage with us, you can either contact us on our Facebook page or you can send us an email at onthebench64@gmail.com.
Yep. And if we give bad information, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Need to be corrected.
Yep.
Yep.
We don't mind. We're not perfect.
No,
not at all.
and I mean, if we're doing something wrong, we want to know about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't want to be using the wrong shade of paint on my whatever. I'm not going to change it after I've started. I'll give you that. But if you tell me beforehand, I'll be sure to get it right.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Best
so
as
it's
I can.
been a really big year for the podcast.
Yeah.
And
Got
it's,
sponsorship now.
Yes, of course, we've got Fine Scale Modeler, who are a big supporter of us now. And,
Thank you very much.
They're advertising us on through their media outlets, which is great. So please drop over and have a look at their website. Well, they've got a great forum over there, very active forum.
Yes, very active.
Forum,
Probably one of the oldest magazines around, I think.
Yeah, they're celebrating 30 years this year.
Yeah.
So
I first started collecting Fine Scale back in the, I think it was the early 80s or something.
Been around for donkey's
I
years.
think I still got that original magazine. The main coverage was on a semi-scratch built 32 scale P51B.
And I love the digital editions that you can get now because, excuse me, because and a lot of the modelling magazines are doing this now. But to my poor old tired eyes, using the old, as much as I love having a magazine in my hand, the digital version you can just sort of pinch and open up the picture, and you can zoom right into that particular bit of detail that you're looking at, and it's the quality holds up, fantastically. So,
well, the sort of countering factor to that is the fact that if you have any mistakes in your photos, that's another thing. You better put on some nice big photos. I like big.
Yeah.
I like nice. None of this little pixelated type photos. I want great photos.
No, the digital editions don't pixelate as you sort of zoom right in. They're really super high resolution pictures, and it's awesome.
And that's important to me. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what does 2019 hold for us?
For me, more models of Pacific War type stuff for sure. So I've got the Lexington to do. I've got the Helldiver to do. I would like to get the Focke-Wulf out of this box set that I just bought done. I also have a 72nd scale Focke-Wulf I might toy with, just to see if I can put my new airbrush to the test. Spraying nice and small, little tiny German models, the smallest ones I can get on there, I suppose. What else? I'm gone a bit off armor modeling lately. That's probably gonna last for a while, I think. But I do have like one Russian tank, some T something or other in the pipe. But the Lexington I definitely need to get done.
Ian,
me.
Yeah.
I'll just continue on with the Shikaku. That's going to take up most of the year. If I would like to, that's a big I would like to. I'm not saying I'm going to get it done because there's a 90% chance it won't happen.
Yeah.
But I would like to have, before Model Expo, have the Shikaku finished, finish off the Shimakaze, which is pretty much, I'd say, nearly half built.
Yep.
And then I bought a couple of master box sets of figures for the Tarawa campaign, and maybe do a little Tarawa Banzai charge on some US Marines.
Yep.
That's what I like to do. For the rest of the year, we'll wait for the... So I'm really keen on getting the new Airfix 24 scale Hellcat.
Really?
I really am, yeah. I'm keen on getting that. Definitely in the pipeline near the end of next year when it's released will be the Lancaster.
Very nice.
Let me ask you.
I've got the money put aside for that. So all it is just wait for it to get released and jump on it.
How much do you reckon it's going to go for?
I'd say roughly around between $600-700.
$100 Aussie.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you don't have to buy anything extra for it.
Yeah.
That's wingnut wings. Everything's there.
You got to buy the paint and the glue.
Yeah.
A lot of paint.
Buy the paint and black liter. Yeah, a liter of black paint.
Yeah.
So you'll need a lot of black paint for that thing.
So between a 24 scale Hellcat, a Lancaster, and your current Shikaku in 350th, where are you going to put all this stuff?
Well, I have no idea, mate. I've even got a 132 scale wingnut wings Felix Day flying boat.
Well,
that's massive.
Yeah, maybe there'll be such fantastic builds that you might find a home other than your own.
Oh, sell them.
To put them.
Yeah.
Or maybe not sell them. Or maybe you should sell all your other stuff.
Hey, can you always store it here after you build it?
Ooh, there's an offer.
Oh, there's an offer. Or maybe it's just pull my finger out and get a bigger place to live in.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Which I've been saying for the last few
Yes.
years, but it doesn't happen because I buy more kits.
Maybe you just need a storage container.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Hire one of those storage boxes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, for me, 2019, I'm going to not buy any more ships until I start building some more of them. That's my commitment.
bullshit.
And I'm going to continue with my collection of 1/144th scale aircraft, the bombers.
When are you going to build one?
Well,
I think Dave should first. I think Dave should first paint
the
his
tank,
mouse.
the mouse. It's sitting there ready to be painted. I just haven't decided what
paint
colours
it.
yet. I know, but I've
Just
got to decide what
paint it.
colour I want to paint it. So
Well, aren't they all start off the same color? Yellow,
red.
dark yellow.
Oh no, red.
yeah,
Primer.
that's sort of
Oh, yeah.
primer red.
Red primer.
Would you do a primer red one?
Yeah, I reckon primer red.
Yeah, I could
If you're going to do
red
primer red, you should do the chalky,
But what you
the
do is
chalky
you do
lines and stuff from where they've cut the steel. and
primer
everything.
red, but paint the barrel in either grey or sand colour. So the barrels come off another tank.
Oh yeah, I could do that. I'll get to that eventually.
Yep.
That's there as a I'll get to that eventually type thing. So I'm buying no more ships next year at all. Touch wood. Because I want to build some more. I've got so many now. I've got to start building them. And maybe just a few more, as I said, aircraft to flesh out my bomber collection in 1/144th.
Well, yeah, that's the problem with ships. There's a few ships coming out that I really wouldn't mind getting, but I've got nowhere to store them at the
Yeah,
time being.
I know.
Well, what's on your wish list?
Well,
Aside from what you mentioned already.
I know that Starling models, and I don't know if they're bringing out in 1/700 or 1/350, but they're bringing out a Grimsby class sloop
They're doing it in 1/350 scale.
as HMAS Yarra,
Yep.
which I'd love
Yep.
to get.
Yep.
I'd
Yep.
love to get the Yarra
Oh, yeah.
because it's just got such a great. It's a tragic history sort of thing how it ended up, but it was just one of those sacrificial moments, pivotal part of the Second World War Pacific campaign, and when you read up about what they did, it's just it was a boat full of heroes, really, and I'd love to model it.
See, now you're going to make me break my New Year's resolution.
I knew that would happen.
Well, how about how's this? How about I give you the money, you purchase it, you store it at your house, and that way, technically, if it doesn't enter my home, I haven't purchased it.
It's you know the
Hang on.
New
You're
Year's
talking about me having to store my kits at your place, and now you chuck them all on my place.
I'll store your built ones, and you can store my unbuilt ones. How's that?
All right, yep.
It's a New Year's resolution. It's a self-imposed rule. You're not supposed to try and circumvent your own self-imposed rules.
Well, rules are there to be broken.
That's why
Well,
you
then just
never
do it.
make New Year's resolutions, because you're going to break them. And you never say, I'm not going to buy that
Well,
kit.
the thing is, it's
that
not New
kit
Year's
because
yet.
something's going to come out.
It's not New Year's yet. He can just change the rule.
True,
Of course you can.
but we won't have another show until the new year. So, and by the way, we're not taking a break. We're going all the way through, so we'll be back in a fortnight's time.
Good. I don't believe in taking breaks. Not like that. When it comes to modelling, all the way through the Christmas season, I don't want to have to wait.
So our listeners will be happy about that.
Yep.
The commitment I've got is I want to get back to Canada late next year, early 2019. So my plan is to go, and call me crazy, all my Canadian friends over there, but I want to go and experience a Canadian winter in Toronto. So I've got this idea of popping in and saying g'day to our friends over at Scale Model Podcast, Stuart over there. If he'll have me for an afternoon, I'll pop over and maybe we can do a joint podcast together in January 2020. And keen to get back to Paris, to tell you the truth. It's a beautiful city. Highly it's well known as a great sort of spot, but putting aside all the issues I've had the last couple of weekends, it's a beautiful city. So keen to get back there as well.
Cool.
And maybe get the backyard finished as well. I mean, I haven't done that yet. It's got weeds that are about 6 foot tall out there.
You got your own
So,
jungle.
Weeds can't grow through concrete. That's what I'd do. I'd just concrete it.
how much concrete costs to put down? It costs a fortune. So,
Yeah, but it maintains itself nearly forever.
yeah, that's true.
Yep.
All right. So from us here on the bench, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all our listeners. Thank you for the great support over these last year and the ongoing support through Patreon, to those of you who are contributing there and supporting and helping us maintain this podcast. We hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas and that Santa brings you lots of plastic goodness under the tree.
Plastic, resin, photo, and photo etch.
And also that you all have a safe and very happy new year. So from Ian.
Goodbye, all.
Julian.
Merry Christmas.
All right, guys. We'll see you in a fortnight. See ya.